Hey guys, good morning. It's Tuesday, and I just thought we'd sit and chat for a while. They, I don't know, I've had a lot running through my head lately. Just all kinds of stuff. But first, I want to say, if you're new to my channel, welcome. Glad you found me. I really hope you get something out of my channel. We do lots of things around here. Mostly on Tuesdays, I just sit around and pretty much run my mouth about anything that is eating at me, or something that's informative, mostly, or something new I learned. If you're returning to my channel, thank you. That means you've gotten something. I'm doing something right at any rate. And as always, I appreciate all of you either way. There is nothing that gives me a greater privilege and honor than knowing that there are people that want to hear what I have to say or take something away from one of my videos. Um, and as always, don't forget to subscribe. Like button, dislike button is okay. It's an option. Comments are always welcomed, and I try to respond to all of them, even if it's just a simple thank you. I like to have conversation. Just please keep it civil, even if you don't agree with me. Think before you text. And I realize that the comment section on YouTube is probably not the best place to have an overall conversation, but at least gives me an idea. And if it's something that I think would require more than just a simple comment back to a comment, I'll do a video on it. You know, for that matter. But today, I want to talk about a couple different things. First thing I want to talk about is this amazing woman that I literally just learned about her this morning. And her name is Annie Abrams. She's in Little Rock, Arkansas. She is 90 years old. She has been a civil rights activist her entire life, pretty much. And they just celebrated her on the news. And if you don't know me, I am a crier. My emotions will overwhelm when it comes to movies, music, feel-good stories, things like that. And hers was truly an amazing story. So she has been a civil rights activist since the beginning of the civil rights movement in the 60s. She was a part of the Little Rock Nine. If you don't know who the Little Rock Nine were, they were 9 school children that helped to segregate the Central High School there in Little Rock, and met against great opposition, which is so disheartening. I don't understand why. There's a lot of things I don't understand, but she was a part of making that happen. She was also the first black president of the PTA there in Little Rock. She helped get streets renamed for civil rights leaders and Martin Luther King. Their high street, their main street in town, was renamed Martin Luther King because of her. She's so wise. So wise. If you watch if you follow or are into the Matrix movies, she's like an oracle, you know. And she's wise enough that everybody comes to her house, sits on the front porch for advice or just conversation. Her son was saying that it's not uncommon to see the mayor there on her front porch just talking to her and getting advice. And she's had presidents and governors and heads of state. She was a member, the treasurer for the Democratic Party, I think it was. Hold on, I have her pulled up here on my laptop. She's done so much. I couldn't possibly remember all of this, and still going strong. That's the amazing thing. Even at 90 years old, she has her wits about her. She was a member of the Democratic's Women Campaign, to actually help get a Republican governor elected, because this man wanted to do what was right. No matter what it did. It was Winthrop Rockefeller, and he really liked to push the equality button. And then she joined the Young Women's Christian Association, which is the YWCA. You have the YMCA that you hear the village people sing about all the time, which is the Young Men's Christian Association, where with that she was able to represent a non-political group in the United Nations, you know, which is absolutely amazing, you know, and people listened. It, and she's never stopped. I guess that's my point, which is a shame that she's never had to stop, you know, fighting for racial equality. And that's sad. I was talking to a friend of mine yesterday, as a matter of fact, and he asked me a question that was really kind of interesting. He wanted to know, when did I not only truly recognize the racial inequality, but keep it in the forefront of my mind? And it really, realistically, wasn't until they put we put Trump in office, which, you know, well, by we, I don't mean me. You know, I mean we as a nation. Um, because it became so prevalent. Growing up, even though as a child, segregation ended when I was a kid, at least in Ohio. Um, and before that point, I had never met anybody of color, of any color for that matter. And even when I ended up being bused to a school that was, you know, predominantly black, it never crossed my mind that there was a problem with that. We weren't raised in that aspect. You know, race was never part of a conversation in my family. You know, everybody was just people. You know, to my mom, to, you know, all my family members, if there was a racist side to any of my older family, it never showed. You know, so it was never given any thought to me. And I knew racism was always an issue, even now, well, prior to 5 years ago, in some places, you know, in small pockets. And this is a true fact, even though the Ku Klux Klan was prevalent, you know, at one point, it was on the decline. You know, white supremacy wasn't really a thing. It was hidden, I guess, is what it comes down to, until 5 years ago, when somebody decided that we needed pretty much a government that said it's okay to be a racist. It's not okay to be a racist. Don't be fooled. You know, it's wrong. It's morally wrong. It's religiously wrong. It's ethically wrong. And it doesn't even matter what religion you are. It's wrong. Even if you're no religion, it's wrong. Racism's wrong. I don't even understand what has led us to the need to not eliminate it. You know, which bugs me. You know, and I just don't. I don't get it, but I'm not going to stop talking about it. You know, because if people stop talking about it, everybody thinks it's okay and it's gone away. You know, another part of the conversation we had was, you know, how social media and mainstream media, the news, you know, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, all that, and the mainstream media driving most of this, was how it was brought to the forefront and it was made such a priority for 4 years, and now all of a sudden we don't talk about it anymore. It's not on the media. It's not front page news. It's like made it to the middle of the newspaper, to the back of it, you know, and that can't happen. I mean, I know not everything can be front page news, but if COVID, which we've been battling now for 2 years, can still be one of the first two stories on the national news, on local news, in the news articles that get sent to my phone, why can't the discussion of racism still be in the forefront? I don't get it. our attention span has gotten so bad, that as a nation, it's gotten bad. If we can't handle it for long periods of time. I mean, I'll be the first one to tell you, I'm sick to death of hearing about COVID on the news. I mean, it's been every day, 2 years solid. But it keeps it in the forefront of your mind. It reminds me that people are still getting sick. People are dying. People still need to get vaccinated. I mean, eventually, when it comes to the vaccination thing, we're not going to have to worry about it anymore because those who didn't get vaccinated are probably going to be dead. We're still losing upwards of 2,500 people a day to COVID. And 98% of them are unvaccinated. So eventually, if you're not vaccinated, not that I wish death on anybody. I don't wish that upon anybody ever, or sickness but chances are good you're going to catch it. Something's probably going to happen that's bad. I mean, that's horrible to say, but it's true. But all the same, we can keep that negativity and that in frame of mind, but we quit talking about the senseless murders that are happening. We quit talking about racial issues. We quit talking about social and economic inequality for the most part. I have not heard really anything in the news, lately about any of that. The closest being how they've had to close some of the schools down in Columbus because of heating issues, which, I mean, I touched on last week, and all those heating issues seem to be in lower income neighborhoods. Why? Why have we quit talking about all this? It doesn't need to stop. Chris, and for those who don't know, Chris is my wife, follows a bunch of people on Instagram, or on TikTok, that are still having that conversation. But out of like the 20 people she follows, maybe one or two of them are white. Why isn't everybody having this conversation? Why aren't we having this conversation about equality for all? And fairness for all. And for them, I don't know why racism gets pushed to the back burner, much like poverty. It's almost like everybody wants to dump on the poor, and hate everybody because of the color of their skin or where they come from or their religion. I just don't get it. I don't get it at all. But anyhow, that's some food for thought on that. And I really just wanted to talk about Annie and tell you what an amazing woman she is, and that she is so powerful and so influential with wanting to do it right, and so knowledgeable and wise that she has heads of state. Bill Clinton has sought her advice. Obama sought her advice. She has met with presidents and kings, and that is amazing. Just amazing. The other thing I want to talk about, this probably isn't going to be a horribly long video today, but I read an article in the New York Times, speaking of mainstream media, about inflation and how people are just really pissed off, about the price of everything. And inflation, it happens about every 10 years. It's funny what happens every decade. Every decade gas prices go up, then they go back down. There's always a crisis for gas, and then there's not a crisis for gas. And inflation always goes up, then it always comes back down. The problem we have now, and it's kind of a combination of things. You've got the increase of overall prices, inflation, which is driven by a few different things. It's driven by, sorry, I got something on my finger. I'm not sure what it is. You've got, first it started with an influx of cash, all right, which I never thought would be an issue, but it is. And here's the issue, which I find this absolutely amazing. Let me shut this blind real quick. So the influx of cash, which was given to us, unlike what Bertie Moreno thinks, and Michael Gibbs, I believe is his name. There are two people running for Senate in Ohio who I take issue with. Not because they're running for Senate, not because they're running for Republican office, but because they, on their commercials, which I see 1,000 times a day, continue to bash Democrats and won't tell you anything about what they've done to deserve to be in office. That's my biggest issue with every politician I've seen on TV this year from Ohio. I mean, I don't know about the other states because they don't show their commercials, but it makes me nuts. But they'll have you to believe that it's all the Democrats' fault, and it's not. Okay, so we got 2 stimulus checks that came over 2 administrations. And what that did was it caused an imbalance in social economics. All right, I don't think it was intended. I don't think that was the need, but it created an imbalance in social economics. Those who didn't normally have. Well, we weren't prepared for that on a business level, so to speak, which drove up demand on everything, which caused shortages, but doable shortages, right? Because we still had a bunch of people going on, things were happening. We weren't in the hole yet, but then all of a sudden an abundance of people were dying, and we had to shut things down to figure out what the heck was going on. And then people stopped working after that, which between those 3 things caused issues of being able to produce items, we'll call them widgets, produce widgets and be able to get them to market. So that drove up price even further. Traditionally, and this is how the oil industry works, when you're running low on product and you can't keep up with demand, you raise the price, hence increasing gas prices, so to speak, or in this case, every widget manufactured in the world, because the entire world's feeling inflation, not just the U.S. You raise the prices up to slow it down. Well, in that process, fighting for, a good wage, which you should never have to fight for to begin with, has caused that to increase even more because of the way our system is set up. Because we have stockholders and shareholders and investments and, that have to be maintained, and some of it I agree with, some of it I don't. Like, I agree with the fact that you budget a certain amount of money to earn with your business or your corporation in order to continue growth, pay for future benefits of employees. There's a million things that go into running a business that take money, but nobody ever accounts for a wage increase. So now you have to, we decided that everybody in the U.S. needed a pay raise for the most part, which is great. I am not arguing that one bit. It's well deserved, but what it did was it threw off everybody's budget all at once, which skyrocketed prices, and now we're feeling it, and it's pissing people off. So it will eventually level out and balance. It's going to take time. I'm still trying to figure out how the Fed department, that controls interest rates, federal interest rates, and by them raising the interest rate is going to help lower prices. I can't grasp my head around this concept yet, but I'm learning. And when I do learn, we'll talk about it. But that still is going to take time. They're saying that the inflation, even though it'll settle, it may take a year. I don't know if people have a year. And I don't know if it's I almost feel like what it's going to do is just basically going to put us right back where we were, which in some ways is good because then prices will lower. People, things will kind of go back to normal, but it's bad because then you've got poor people again. You got people who, are poor, dirt poor, and some of them with no fault of their own. I'm not talking about the poor who, refuse to get a job and are trying to live off the system. Get a job. But I'm talking about that mom and dad that go to work every day and work 40, 50 hours a week and still can barely pay their rent. That's not fair. And I think some things, much like rent in most cases, it is greed. Plain and simple. It's just greed. That's somebody who has something that's willing to charge, bleed you dry to make a dime, and that in and of itself is horrible. Just absolutely horrible. But I mean, at the moment, it is what it is. And as a country, we have so many pokers in the fire, so to speak, of things that need to be fixed that I think we don't know where to start. Because depending on who you talk to, every poker is the biggest poker, the biggest problem. And they want you to start with that one. I think if we nip a little bit at a time, and take some of the bigger issues, social inequality, racism, and in my mind, racism is probably the biggest of the bunch. We got to start treating each other right, or it's not going to matter how much money you make, because we're on a downhill slope. We need to slow this train down before it crashes. Socially, I think if we can work on racism, social inequality will take care of itself for the most part. Not completely, but for the most part. We start treating each other with respect all the way around, no matter who you are, where you come from, what the color of your skin is. I think social equality will kind of come with that in some instances. Financial equality, I think will come when we can kind of wipe the greed out, or make our priorities straight. Now I watched a man this morning, early morning on the news, and this was awesome that this happened. Don't get me wrong. He was probably in his late 80s. I didn't catch exactly how old he was, but he was a grandpa, diehard fan of the Rams. And they're going to the Super Bowl this year, and he had never seen them play football. So his grandkids started a GoFundMe campaign to raise the money to go to the Super Bowl. Here's a good example of greed. A Super Bowl ticket is $6,000. Absolutely ludicrous. Pay $6,000 to walk through a gate to watch a football game that you can watch for free at home. On the comfort of your couch without rain, snow, sleet, or any of that crap. But they started a GoFundMe account. Within a day and a half, they raised $36,000 to send this man to the Super Bowl. Now they're donating the rest of what they don't use to pay for his hotel room and his Super Bowl ticket. But if we can raise money that quickly as a society to send one man to see a sporting event, why is there one single hungry kid in the world? Why is there one single poor person without electricity? Why is there one person living on the street? And don't be the asshole that says, well, some people choose to live on the street. Yes. But that's because that's where they've gotten used to it. And that is such a small percentage of the homeless. It's unreal. If we can raise money for things like that, we should never have a child go hungry. We should never have somebody living on the street. We should never have anybody that can't pay their rent or put food on the table, especially those who work. And I'm not talking about the elderly, people in their 70s that have worked hard all their lives and are struggling now because things cost 10 times more than what their Social Security would, pay. I am talking about that 35-year-old person who won't get off the couch because he's too busy watching TV, and you know who you are, to go get a job and relying on somebody else to support them. Bullshit. Man up. Or woman up, for that matter. Because there's both types. It's not just lazy men. There's lazy women too. you know, and teach your kids that working hard pays off. Me and Chris have worked very hard our entire lives. And because of that, we have a nice home. Is it huge? No. Is it a multi-million dollar mansion? Absolutely not. But it's home. We have one. Our bills are paid. Our bellies are full. Our kids are taken care of. That's important. Those are the important things. We get sidetracked too easy. But anyhow. All right, I'm done ranting. I have taken up a little more time than I wanted to, but I really got on a tangent and I had to get it out. And this is stuff that's been eating at me over the last week. So tomorrow we are going to do a beef and potato casserole. We're going to do it in a cast iron skillet, but it's something you could also do in a 9x13 pan. I know not everybody has cast iron, but you should. And then for Thursday, we're going to make a old-fashioned caramel bundt cake. You're like, what? It's a beautiful brown sugar bundt cake, which are tender and delicious, with a caramel sauce on the top of it that it just looks to die for. I've never made one before. Not ever. But it looks like something that is pretty straightforward. I got a pretty good recipe, and we're going to give it a shot. It's actually something that somebody had requested. One of Chris's friends, she's my friend too, although I don't think I've met her, but maybe once, named Stacy, who was like, this sounds really good. What do you think about this? You should try and make this. That way I can see how it's made. So, absolutely. I much like DJs, I will do requests. So anyhow, till tomorrow when we get together to try out some hamburger and potatoes in a casserole form, I love you. I love you very much. Think about what I've said. Go tell somebody you love them and you love them very much. All right? Get vaccinated, stay safe, and be good. All right, till tomorrow for dinner. I love you. Bye.